We're here at Make 48, a 48-hour maker contest, and we're very lucky to spend some time with Ethan Carter of Ethan Carter Designs. Ethan Carter's come down from the Boston, Massachusetts area to help out with Make 48, and he's been going nonstop trying to help this competition get off the ground and make it. We've known each other for a while now. I think it's been a while, about
2.5 years maybe?
2.5 years.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
And in that time, you've built a number of different things with MakerPipe.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
It's been really cool. And we're happy to get to know you and to see your work. But your main thing is leather working.
Right, which doesn't necessarily, first thought doesn't come MakerPipe and leather, right? That's not the first thought that comes to mind, but it's been great.
Right, but with your unnecessary leather hashtag,
Yep.
any chance to use leather, and it seems like a different medium
Absolutely.
has kind of been your thing.
That's exactly right. I mean, so when people ask me what I do, I always say, I'm known for leatherworking, but probably not the leatherworking that you think of.
Mhm.
I mean, I do make wallets. I do make those types of things, which kind of are, kind of fine leatherworking skill sets and stuff like that. And I'm not even at that level by any means. But my favorite thing to do with leather is to, like you said, use it in unnecessary ways and kind of have fun with it, and kind of use it and incorporate it in projects in ways that people might not think of using leather in. So there's that aspect of it from the kind of the design and the creativity side of it. But I also do a lot of fun and kind of silly projects with unnecessary leather to kind of just make it so that it's not just fine leatherworking. So people don't think of it as just, oh, well, if you're a leatherworker, you're going to make belts and wallets. There's no other way of using it. I want to inspire people to try it and use it for the first time and not be, not have that be a barrier of entry to, I don't want to make a wallet, then I'm not going to do leatherwork. You can use it for things like even hanging mirrors. If you're an interior designer, knowing how to do a little leatherwork and incorporating that into a way to hang a mirror, awesome. So that's kind of my goal. And it's also to inspire. It's a really easy medium to get into. It's very low cost of entry in terms of tools. And it doesn't take a lot of skills to get started. So it's a really fun way of just getting going and without a lot of investment in time or resources.
Neat. And you're on YouTube and Instagram.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that for?
Yeah, I was trying to think. Someone asked me this week. I think I started on Instagram first, which is sometimes kind of a unique situation. But I saw it on Instagram. I think it was January of 2018, 2017 or 2018. I think it was 2018.
So a few years now.
A few years. Yep.
And I've seen a lot of that. You helping people get into leatherworking.
Yes, that's
intro to skills. You've done different stitches, different ways of making things with leather.
Yeah.
Whether it's traditional or non-traditional. And I can definitely see that in your channel and in your media. You're trying to do that.
I'm glad that you say that because that's absolutely what I hope my channel would be. It's a lot of my Instagram, my Instagram is almost exclusively 1-minute videos. I don't do a lot of photos and the reason for that is I want to have some element of education within my video. So even if it's not a how to do leather stitching video, what I hope is that by watching me do the process, people pick up skills just by kind of osmosis, right? Or just subconsciously pick up the techniques and ways of thinking about it just through those videos. So that is absolutely the goal of my projects is not necessarily always to teach people how to make the thing I'm making, but more to how did he do that? And that technique, I might be able to use that technique in a different type of project.
And that comes across. I've learned a lot about leatherworking through watching your content. Do you remember how you got started in leatherworking?
I kind of stumbled into it. So if you look back, I think it was, December of 2018. So I have a really, really tiny shop in my basement. It's basically meant to be a hot water heater and storage room. And I can literally touch both sides of the walls with my arms. So I did a lot of woodworking and kind of restoration type stuff and that kind of stuff. That's how I got into this making community. I had never touched leather at all, but it came that 2018 December, and it started getting cold outside, and I couldn't bring the table saw out into the driveway when there's snow out there.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of something I could do in the winter in a small space, and so I got a couple of basic leatherworking tools. I had no plans to get into leatherworking in terms of to anywhere to the degree that I am now. But it was meant to be a couple little projects just to kind of have fun and explore it. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, it's a really, like I said, it's a really easy medium to get into. And once you get into it, you can just, there's so many things that you can learn and do. And again, incorporate it into the woodworking projects that I was doing. One of my favorite projects that I made is a leather and wood toolbox. Toolbox is maybe a generous term, but the sides of the toolbox are wood, and then the whole thing is wrapped in leather. So the leather actually is the body of the thing. And I love that because it was combining woodworking and leatherworking into one project. But yeah, so then it also kind of snowballed because of the community and what people were responding to. So I started doing more and more leatherworking projects, and then people started thinking of me as the leatherworking guy.
Yeah.
And trying to build my audience and everything is obviously had some impact on it as well. But people seem to really respond to it, so I doubled down and I just kind of embraced it and went with it. If I just gone completely the traditional leatherworking, I think I would have gotten bored. So the way I gone about it, I think, is what has made me okay with kind of moving away from traditional woodworking and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what you found with the mixed medium.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just take the conduit, for instance.
Yes, for sure.
You're like wrapping the conduit with leather, which is not an ordinary thing.
And and
it's
probably
a
not
unique,
necessary.
creative thing, and not necessary.
Not necessary, right.
But totally cool.
Yeah.
And your skills that I see on your videos, you can do the woodworking and building with MakerPipe. You're very creative and handy. So if you don't want to do leather all the time, that's fine. You're very skilled at it. But it's interesting that you've kind of gone down that road with leatherworking, and it's been amplified by the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is, one of the projects, I made an infinity cube light fixture.
Right.
And I used MakerPipe connectors and conduit to do that. And I said, and it looked actually pretty awesome as is. I mean, it looked pretty great. But I was like, how do I bring my brand into it? And that's where I decided, I was like, I'm gonna wrap the conduit in leather. And people love that look of the corset stitch, which is the one that kind of crosses.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became, not only was the leather an accent piece, but the stitching became an accent piece. And it just kind of gave it one more dimension, in my opinion, at least. One more dimension. But yeah, so it was fun.
It was super cool. And the corset stitch, as I learned on your channel, draws it in.
Yeah.
I learned about like the baseball stitch, right? And then what was another?
The saddle stitch. So the saddle stitch is kind of the traditional stitch that most likely people think of, which is just kind of a straight line on both sides. But you use 2 needles, which give it that that consistent pattern on both sides, which it does. And this is all hand stitch. So there is a difference if you look at this versus something that's stitched on a machine, because this is literally 2 threads crossing each other, whereas like a sewing machine kind of hooks it from the back, and so you don't get that same kind of aesthetically pleasing look on both sides. So that's a saddle stitch.
And these I want to point out, because one thing in meeting you and getting to know you is you're very generous. The first time that we met in person, you gave me right away a keychain.
Oh, the keychain, the cell phone?
Cell phone stand keychain that I still have on my shop keys today. And then we meet again here, and then we've got tons of gifts for me.
Of course.
So your generosity, I think, both with like the learning on your channel, on showing people, but then also the physical gifts is awesome, and I can't thank you enough.
I won't lie, it's a little bit selfish because that's one of my favorite things. Like I just love giving people little things. It makes me really happy, so it's a little selfish because it makes me happy at the end of the day. So. And
we had an unboxing or unwrapping with these gifts the first night.
Yep.
And we've got a really cool credit card wallet here, and with the MakerPipe logo as well as the Ethan Carter logo. So that's rad. You did a couple, these are pretty neat. These are MakerPipe logos in leather.
Yep.
And tell me about how you got that in there.
Yeah, so that's kind of a unique thing too that people are kind of always surprised that you can do. Most people that do engraving in leather use like a laser now or do it by hand. But what I found is, again, because I wanted a broad spectrum of uses, I got the Cricut Maker. It's nice because I can use it for stencils, for other projects, all the things that you traditionally think of using a Cricut for.
Right.
But one of the selling points for me was there's a third-party attachment that you can get that basically the machine thinks it's cutting the leather. So the Cricut Maker 2 will actually cut leather, but this attachment, you set it to cut, but it's just a little bit thinner. So basically it scrapes the leather And if you use the right leather, you get a really nice kind of clean engraving. And so it's basically like printing. You use it like a printer, and it engraves the logos.
That's
into
so
leather.
cool.
Yeah, so it's super fun, and it allows me to do these things quickly, right? If I was trying to do it by hand, it would be a lot harder, right? So
right,
and would not look anywhere close to as good. So
yeah, that's neat. That's a neat technique to use something that isn't necessarily made to do that.
yeah,
For doing that. And then the most impressive one is this belt pouch that we were talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about, yeah.
How cool would it be to have something that you put on your belt and you're able to keep the MakerPipe tools,
MakerPipe essentials,
MakerPipe essentials at the ready, a holster for your pipe cutter, a holster for your T-handle, and is really awesome.
Yeah, it was fun, and we've talked about it. I think there's going to be a version 2, probably a version 3 before we land on the exact one, but it usually takes a couple prototypes to get it locked in. But it's still, I think it's still kind of a fun idea and concept. So yeah, we'll be talking more on that for sure.
Yeah, we'll work together on that. And who knows, it might make it onto the MakerPipe site.
You never know. You never know if we find a good design.
Ethan Carter Designs.
Yeah, right. That'd be awesome.
But yes, thanks so much for the gifts.
Of
Your
course,
generosity is truly appreciated. And I see that in your content, you giving information, and then also in the maker community too. How have you found the maker community as you've gotten more and more into it?
So my story was, I was listening to a podcast, and I wasn't on, I think I had an Instagram account, but I never used Instagram. And I've always tinkered with things and stuff like that. And I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about Instagram and this maker community and everything like that. And it was kind of like a light bulb went off. I was like, I guess I'm a maker. Like, I never knew what I was called. Like what, all of a sudden I was like, that's me. And I was like, there's a whole community around it. So I went into it wanting to be part of the community. And really that was kind of my goal. And so it's extremely important to me to truly be a member of the community. But that involves being really engaging and really willing to answer questions. And sometimes, especially as you grow, which is a good thing, but as you grow, you get more and more questions, more and more DMs, and it's been a challenge to keep up. But it's extremely important for me if someone reaches out and asks a question to answer them, because I did the same thing, and those are the people that responded to me when I had no followers and had no business reaching out to them. That stuck with me, and it really meant a lot to me. And so I hope that I can do that for people. So that's a huge part of my channel as well, is really to be a resource, be a friend, be a support. And if you're going to talk about being a part of a community, you should be part of a community. So that's really, really important to me to walk the walk.
That's great. And I've noticed that, identify with that.
Yeah, for sure. You guys are very much the same. And yeah.
What we try to do, is help people do whatever their project is, which could mean a gold mining, or it could mean a chicken coop, or whatever it might be in between.
Well, that's because MakerPipe's uses are kind of endless. The projects and variety of things, I'm sure, are pretty endless. Yeah.
But we try to keep that at the core of just like helping people, which I love that about what you do.
I think that's one of the reasons why we've connected so well, is because we kind of share that same mentality.
Yeah. So. And then how awesome is the maker community that you can reach out to Ethan Carter, who you've learned a lot by using leather in both traditional and untraditional ways. And then you can, offer your expertise to people in a very approachable manner.
Absolutely, and that's exactly. And I'm honest. There's a lot that I don't know, but anything I do know, I'm willing to share. And I'm not competitive at all. If I make something and someone makes it too, that's the biggest honor I could ever think of. I'm not a retail shop, so it's easier for me to kind of be happy about people making what I make. But to me, that's a huge honor, is when someone sends me a picture or someone tags me in a post and they're like, you inspired me to make this, or I learned this stitch from you, and because of that, I was able to make it. There's probably nothing more rewarding to me than that. That's just the best. You go to bed happy. That's nice, for sure.
Well, that's great. It's no doubt that you put a lot of work into it. I'm glad that people recognize it, because you're doing awesome
Good.
things.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I want to thank you for building all kinds of things with MakerPipe, things we never would have thought of. We've got the Infinity Cube that you mentioned. What other projects have you done?
I think the first projects we did was a mobile tool cart / outfeed table for my table saw. So actually, as I mentioned earlier, when I use my table saw, I have to bring it out into the driveway. So there's no way to build a really kind of good outfeed table.
Mhm.
That doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm always walking into the garage, back to the cabinets to get tools and push sticks and those types of things. So it's kind of my workflow is already kind of bad because I had to bring it out. So that made it even worse. So it was kind of a no-brainer. So I took a wall control panel and then built a mobile cart using the conduit and the casters. And then one of my favorite parts of that build was I took a piece of wood that was the same size as the cart and used two of your 90-degree brackets, I think it was.
Yep, the outside 90s.
Not outside 90s. And so I can take that off and plop it on the top, and that becomes an outfeed table for my table saw. So I wheel the cart out, I've got all my tools there, and then you put that on, and you got an outfeed table too.
That was a total MakerPipe hack. We haven't seen people do that.
It was great.
So
it was perfect.
the creativity was definitely there.
Yeah.
I'm sure people got a few ideas from
Awesome.
that.
I hope so. That was awesome.
That was a cool one.
And then the latest one was probably the dog bed.
Yep.
So I did a dog bed with a awning. So I was looking, it's kind of a no-brainer to do a dog bed, I think. So that's a pretty logical way to use MakerPipe. But what I loved was using the 45-degree angle. So I up the back and then use the 45 degrees to kind of do an angled, what do you call it?
Shade.
Yeah. So if it's really sunny out and your dog is, overheating, you can kind of pull the shade up and block the sun so it's not indirect sun, but you can also bring it back down. And so, yeah, that's what I like about all the different options with all the different angles of the MakerPipe. You can I probably wouldn't have thought of that if I hadn't seen the 45-degree angle brackets. So I think that's the last one we did.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. And then we had this as another project, not with MakerPipe, but
For
MakerPipe related.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I appreciate all that interest. Thank you so much
Of course.
for your interest in MakerPipe. And where can people find out more about your projects if they want to go check it out?
Absolutely. So I'm on Instagram as Ethan Carter Designs. I'm on YouTube as Ethan Carter Designs. I also have a podcast called Because We Make, which is a weekly podcast where we interview people. So if you want to get to know me a little bit better, that's a good way to because it's a lot more kind of personal, one-on-one conversations. I think those are the main ways to find me. I'm most active on Instagram. Trying to get a little bit more into YouTube. But yeah, if you want to see the wide variety of projects, Instagram would be the way to find me.
Nice. And it's really worth checking out. You expose people to leather for the first time, or maybe, not the first time, really well.
Thank you. I hope so. That's my goal.
Yeah, keep going.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan.
Yeah, thank you guys. And thanks for being such a great supporter as well. It's been fun working together.
Yeah. I hope we keep getting to do it in the
absolutely.
future.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.